Good morning. It is 6:30 a.m. now, and we've just finished our yoga. It's something we've been trying to do more frequently in the mornings as a gentle way to wake up and get a little bit of exercise in without smashing out a HIIT workout or something. So we're currently doing the 30-day breathe or breath series by Yoga with Adrienne, and we're really enjoying it so far. It's been really good. So normally after we finish exercise or whatever we're doing, if I'm commuting to work that day, then I will skip this thing and do it on the train. But because I'm working from home today, I'm going to do a quick meditation while Michael is making some brekkie. So I'm going to jump into that now. I'll probably do a 20-minute meditation and then I'll start my day. Hello again, now 7 a.m. I've just finished my meditation and I'm going to move on to making some brekkie. Breakfast each day changes for me depending on what we're feeling like, but this week we've prepared some egg muffin cup things, kind of like omelettes but in little muffins that we made over the weekend. So we've been working through those, so I'm going to warm myself up some of those with some avocado, and I'll probably have my vitamins as well, because that's something I'm trying to do more in the morning, is take my vitamins and not forget. They don't look too flash, but they are amazing. I've also found some cherry tomatoes that need using up, so I'm going to have some of those with my brekkie as well. And here's my brekkie. 2 little egg muffins with some avocado and tomato. I'm not a huge fan of taking vitamins, so I normally try and put it in a tiny little cup and scull them as quickly as I can. So I'll normally catch up on some YouTube and social media while I eat my brekkie. So it's a little bit after 7:30 now. Michael has left for work and I'm going to start getting ready for my day. I'm going to have a quick shower this morning and then pop some clothes on and get ready for the day. So normally while I'm getting ready, I try and listen to an audiobook or a podcast. And at the moment I'm listening to Barack Obama's new book, A Promised Land. And I'm listening to that on BorrowBox because I can get it for free from our local library. So most days when I'm working from home, I'll try and finish up my morning routine between 7:30 and 8 a.m. And that normally leaves me about an hour or so before I want to start work to kind of do whatever I want with. So some days that'll be editing YouTube, and often it'll be YouTube related stuff. But it's also time if I wanted to use that hour for an extra hour of sleep in and get up a little bit later, or maybe I had something else I wanted to do that morning, like read a book. So I just make sure I have enough time in my morning so I can do something for me before I start work for the day. So today I'm actually a little bit busy at work, so I'm actually going to spend that hour doing a bit of extra work preparation before my day starts, and I'll take you along with that. But before I start my day, it's always time for a cup of tea. Well, carrying that cup of tea in here was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Alright, so now I'm just going to set up my desk and get ready for the day. So normally what I'll do first thing is I'll log on and check my calendar and see what I've got coming up for the day. And I'll also check anything that I've written down in my notebook from the day before. So if you've watched my working from home tips video, you'll know that at the end of the day, I try and write a to-do list for the following day. So that way I have a clear head and I can focus on what's most important the next day. So I'm gonna get stuck into that. So I've just had a bit of a look at my calendar today, and it looks like I've got a few meetings this morning. I've got a team meeting and a couple of other project meetings. I'm having lunch with a friend, and then this afternoon I've only got a couple of meetings here and there, so I should be able to get some work done. My manager did say she was off sick though today, so some of those meetings this morning may or may not be cancelled. So I might end up with a bit of extra free time in my day. We'll just play it by ear. But to start off this morning, I'm going to do a little bit of work on some project stuff. We're overhauling one of our security tools at the moment and implementing a new system, and I'm helping out with that project. So I'll be testing some of the new features that have come out this morning and making sure that we're happy with them and that there's no bugs. So it's always fun when you're trying to play around with a new tool and effectively break stuff and see what works and what doesn't work. So that's what I'm going to be doing to start my day. I just realized as well that I haven't explained what I actually do for work. So I work in cybersecurity. So I'm an information security analyst, but I do a lot of engineering work as well as my normal BAU work. So basically I support the function of our blue team or our detection and response team, and I can talk a little bit more about that later. So I cover a lot of different areas at work, and we'll talk through some of those things today and what it means to work in cybersecurity. I've just finished my first stand-up for the day. Most mornings I have some kind of a stand-up with either a project team or my direct team, and that's just to go through any updates or blockers that we want to share with the group. And so I've just finished that one now, and I'm going to jump into a little bit of work before I have another meeting. But I thought I could take this opportunity to talk a little bit about cybersecurity and explain kind of high level what it is and what we might do every day. So the way I like to think about cybersecurity is that there's a few different critical functions at play here, and most of the time there's a broader underlying supporting function of cybersecurity in an organization that controls the risk and the strategy and a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. But a lot of organizations will have a concept of a red team and a blue team. So the red team is kind of like the bad guys. They are basically trying to hack into our own systems and work out what the vulnerabilities are, so that if we know about our own vulnerabilities first, we can fix them and remediate them before real bad guys in the real world try and exploit those vulnerabilities. And then we've got the blue team, which is the flip side of that. So it's like the active defense of our actual systems. So while the red team is trying to identify threats and issues with the way our systems work, the blue team is trying to defend against real threats in our environment. So my role is in the blue team. So we have a security operations center full of people who are actively defending against threats each day. And basically these people get alerts every day saying when we've seen something suspicious or a little bit dodgy happening in our environment. And they'll look into these tickets, find the underlying log sources and collect all the information they can about what has happened, and then make an informed decision about whether the action is benign or if it's actually got a malicious intent. And if it's got a malicious intent, then they'll have to take certain remediation steps to prevent it from escalating or from happening again. So my role is to basically support the function of our security operations center. So we look at onboarding new detection logic and new logs so that our detection is keeping up with what's happening in the wider world and keeping up with the bad guys basically. We're also trying to maintain and uplift the systems that our analysts are using. So that might mean trying to create automations so that it makes the analysts' lives easier when they're investigating different cases. We take some of the manual labor out of what they do and automate the stuff that can be automated. It could also just mean physically maintaining the infrastructure, or that could mean improving their lives by developing a new tool or implementing a new app or something like that. Another large part of our job is to write playbooks, which is basically just the process that we expect analysts and consultants to follow when they're processing sort of tickets and things that go wrong in our environment. So we write out the, best case scenario process for what you should do if you see a case, and hopefully that helps people and guides them in their investigations. So as often happens, my day has been derailed a little bit and I got swept into a couple of meetings. I'm having a little bit of a later lunch, but today I'm actually having lunch with a friend. So I've warmed up my lunch and I'm about to join a Teams call with my friend. Just finished lunch with my friend and now I've got to jump straight into another meeting, which is basically the story of my life right now. So I'm back, I've finished that meeting, I've got another meeting in 15 minutes, so I'm probably going to take just a bit of a breather and make a cup of tea and wash up my lunch and all that kind of thing. I think it's important to know when we're working from home that we can have little breaks between meetings. I think in the office we probably did do that, like walking to and from different meeting rooms and getting a cup of tea before we went into another meeting. And we don't really get that same thing at home because people expect to start a meeting exactly on time, and they'll usually use up the whole meeting time if they can as well. So I think it's important to try and take little breaks between meetings if you can. So that's what I'm going to try and do now, practice what I preach. But in other news, my day has become very busy all of a sudden, and I'm glad I did a little bit of work this morning, but I'll still have a few more things to do. And the list of tasks that I set myself yesterday, I've barely even touched. So I'm hoping that after this next meeting, I'll have the rest of the afternoon to myself and I'll be able to get stuck into some work. But I managed to get a couple of things on my list done, which is always good. Sometimes you can finish a day feeling like you haven't achieved everything you set out to, but I think you've just got to remember that you've still done your job and you've been working towards things that are bettering the team anyway, whether that be responding to a crisis or working through one of our long-term goals or projects. So all work is valid, basically. All right, time for a cup of tea. I have to say, I do take my hat off to YouTubers though, because now that I've been doing this for a day, I've realized how hard it is to vlog and to work and to multitask. So geez, I don't know how you would do this every day, but yeah, it is very time consuming and very distracting. But while I wait for my tea to boil, while I wait for the kettle to boil, I'm going to actually update our debt tracker. So if you're following along with our debt-free journey, we're trying to pay off $150,000 of combined student loan debt, and we try and keep track of how much is left using this little debt tracker. So I made a payment the other day and I haven't yet updated it with its new balance, so I'm going to update that now. And just like that, we've cracked the $60,000 mark. Woohoo! So one big thing that's happening at the moment in my team and in my area is that we're actually uplifting a lot of our systems at the moment. So a lot of the tools that our analysts are using every day are soon going to be replaced with newer alternatives. And that obviously means that we have a lot of work behind the scenes to try and get these tools ready before analysts are using them. And we're also thinking about how we're going to cut over from our old tools to our newer tools. So a lot of the work I'm doing at the moment, as well as my BAU work, is trying to make sure that these projects move along smoothly and help with the implementation of them. So that means at the moment that I've got a whole lot of project meetings in my calendar that I would otherwise not have. So it's sometimes a little bit hard to find time to do work throughout the day, but I'm doing my best, and sometimes that means starting a little bit early like I did this morning. So I'm going to continue on and get a little bit more work done before my next meeting. So I finally finished all my meetings for today, so now I have a couple of hours to spend on focus work this afternoon. So I'm going to work through some access that I have to give a couple of people. That's been on my list for a little while. I've also got to review some articles for one of our internal systems. And I've also got to do a little bit more testing on one of our new security tools so that I can give some feedback to the team. So I'm going to get started with all of that, and I'll talk to you when I'm done. So the end of my day kind of derailed. I had a very busy afternoon finishing off some work that I had been meaning to do for a little while. and got dragged into a couple more discussions as per normal. So I didn't record much this afternoon. However, I did finish a lot of things that I've been meaning to do. So I worked a little bit later today. It's now 5:56, so I've had a bit of a longer day at work than normal. Normally I'll just work 9 to 5 and that's normally sufficient, but we've been exceptionally busy recently, so every now and again I'll work longer hours than I normally would. But I'm going into the office in real life tomorrow, which is good. And what I normally do at the end of each day is I'll write in my book what things I've got to get done for the next day. So just for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to have a look at my calendar, have a look at the tasks that I didn't manage to get done today, and I'm going to write myself a list of maybe the top 3 things that I want to try and get done tomorrow. I find that this just really helps clear my head towards the end of the day. It stops me from stressing into the evening when I remember things that I've got to get done, and it also just helps me to stay focused when I get into the office. So I find that sometimes working from home, but particularly when I'm going into the office nowadays, because it is a rare occurrence, I find that you can get easily distracted with socializing and catching up with people. And so if there are some things that I absolutely need to get done tomorrow, I want to make sure that I write them down and keep them front and center so that I make time to do them while I'm in the office. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes doing that now. One thing I've actually decided to do tomorrow, just looking at my calendar and how busy I'm going to be with some of these things, is I'm actually going to time block them in my calendar. So this is something that I don't always do this. I don't always time block my tasks, but when there are things that I need to get done and I want to make sure that people don't book my time, I will put a block of time in my calendar just so that I can dedicate to working on a specific task. So I'm going to do that quickly before I log off for the day. Alrighty, all booked in, and I think I'm gonna log off for the day. Michael just got home before, so I'm going to go and have some dinner and probably watch some Netflix or something tonight. I was planning on doing some editing and YouTube this evening, but I think I'm going to give myself a bit of a break this week because I need to listen to my body, and I think I need a rest this week. I've had a crazy couple of days and an exceptionally long day at work again today. So I hope you enjoyed my day in the life vlog today. A little bit of a look into what it can be like as a cybersecurity analyst in a big company. Basically a little bit chaotic, also a lot of fun. It's always good to have such a diverse range of work throughout my day, anywhere from engineering and coding all the way through to business engagement and projects. So as always, thanks for spending some time with me today because I really appreciate it, and I hope I see you in my next video.